class, or the last lesson that we did from Tahdhib as-Sirat al-Nabawiyyah, Nawawi, the author, rahimahullah, was speaking regarding the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his moral description, his sifa, which is khuluqiyya. After we mention and explain his sifa khalqiyya, his physical description, how tall he was, how short he was, how thin he was, how broad he was, how light he was, how dark he was, his physical description. And the most important aspect is the moral description, how he was as a person, as a human being, as a father, as a leader, as a general, as a spiritual guide, as a friend. Okay? What was his akhlaq? What was his character? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned, إذا انتهكت حرمات الله عز وجل فحينئذ يغضب ولا يقوم لغضبه شيء حتى ينتصر للحق. With regards to, did the Prophet ﷺ become angry? Did he even get angry? And if he did get angry, why? And when he became angry, how long was he angry for? And what did he do when he was angry? What did he do when he was angry? Extremely important thing that each and every one of us needs, starting with myself. And that is, following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is manifested in many things. And one of the things that it should be manifested in is his control of anger. Number one, not getting angry over every single small, simple thing. Number two, being selective when you choose in which to get angry. Number three, what do you do when you become angry? For the sake of Allah. And how long does it last? And is it sincere for Allah or for other than Allah? Anger that is lacking any type of prejudice or bias. This is a violation of Allah's rules. Friend, foe, close, far. Poor, rich, doesn't matter. Allah's rules have been violated, I'm angry. Most of us, and Allah knows best, through social media outlets, and when we talk about Dawa and things like this, we play the game and we put on a show, a charade and a masquerade like we're getting angry for Allah. But in actuality, it's nothing but anger for one's personal self, or for your clique, or the people that you're friends with and cool with. But in actuality, if you wanted to get angry about something that was a violation of Allah's laws, it's thousands of things. You can cut on the television. You can open up Time magazine, National Geographic. You can look at your news feed on your phone and become angry for Allah's laws being violated. But you choose to selectively say, I'm being angry for Allah, I hate this person for Allah's sake. It's not true. Because if you hated for someone for Allah's sake, you would hate anyone that's against Allah and His Messenger. La tajidu qawman yu'minuna billahi. Allah says you won't find the people who believe in Allah in the last day. Yuwadduna man haddallaha wa rasulahu. Who show love and affection to those who oppose Allah and His Messenger. Kufr, shirk, bid'ah, sin, nifaq. There's no discrimination. This person has manifested mukhalafa to Allah and His Messenger. I hate him for Allah's sake. This one is a fasiq. This one is a kafir. This one is a mushrik. This one is an innovator. And the list goes on. You just don't pick and select what you want to get angry over for Allah's sake. Because any violation of Allah's rights and Allah's laws is a violation, period. Period. So some of the ulama of Islam, they say that there's no such thing as small sins or minor sins in Islam. And all sins are major, and that is not looking at the sin itself, but looking at the one whom you disobeyed. And of course we know what they mean by this is not something that's actually literal. There are major sins and minor sins. There's no doubt about that. But they're looking at from a deeper perspective, is that there's no discrimination between a small sin or a big sin. It is the right of Allah that you've violated. You've broken the laws. So we have to sit down and check ourselves. Who do we become angry for, realistically? Why are we angry? And are we discriminative in our anger? Because any violation of Allah's laws is a violation of His laws, period. So Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he said about the Prophet ﷺ's character, his moral description, is that he never became angry for personal reasons. He never became angry and upset. He never became impulsive for personal reasons. If someone disrespected him or whatever, he never got angry over those things. To his wife, to his friend, to someone who was serving him. And he only became angry when Allah's rights were violated. when the Sharia was violated. Then he would become angry for that sake, for that cause. Okay? And when he took or struck, when he made a position of anger, it was only for that. Tayyib, moving forward. He says, وَكَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ وَكَانَ أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ تَوَاضُعًا يَقْضِي حَاجَةَ أَهْلِهِ وَيَخْفِضُ جَنَاحَهُ ويخفض جناحه للضعفاء وما سئل شيئا قط فقال لا وكان أحلم الناس وكان أشد حياء من العذراء في خدرها والقريب والبعيد والقوي والضعيف عنده في الحق سواء. The Prophet ﷺ's character was the Quran. That's how he behaved. Whatever Allah said in the Quran, that's what he did. And he was the most humble of people. He was never boastful and prideful. He was never pompous. He was never full of himself. He never scorned or looked down upon others. And he looked after his wife, his household. يَقْضِي حَاجَةَ أَهْلِهِ. Whatever they needed from him, he would do it. Whatever his wives needed from him, he would try his best to do. وَيَخْفِضُ جَنَاحَهُ لِلضَّعَفَاءِ. And he would lower his wing for the weak people. Not the strong people, the noble people, the aristocrats, the handsome people like we do. You give dawah to a woman because she's beautiful. You give dawah to a pretty woman. But a woman that's not that pretty, you don't give her dawah. You don't call her to la ilaha illallah. You only think about the woman that's pretty and good looking. Or we only give dawah to celebrities. We only give dawah to people who are of status. Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma wa ma yudrika la'allahu yazakka. Allah says he frowned and he turned away because the blind man came and he wanted to give dawah to the nobles of Quraysh, the aristocrats, the influential, powerful people, but they weren't trying to hear what he had to say. They weren't interested in the message of the Messenger of Allah. They didn't care what he had to say. But the blind man did. The blind man wanted to accept Islam. The blind man wanted to purify himself. And the Prophet turned away from him to busy himself with calling the nobles, the heads, the chiefs, those who will be influential for others to accept Islam. But Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, no. Kalla innaha tadhkira. As a reminder. So he was censured. So therefore the concept of picking and choosing who we want to serve and who we want to look after, it wasn't what the Prophet ﷺ did. He lowered his wing for the weak people. The people that weren't that special and nice looking and fancy. He served those individuals. He says here, and he was never asked for a thing, and he responded by saying no, never. He would always say yes. He would always do it to the best of his ability. And he had the most tolerance and the most forbearance. Tolerance and forbearance. How many times in a day do you get bent out of shape? Get bent out of shape driving. You get bent out of shape at a red light, at a stop sign. You get bent out of shape someone talking about you, your wife, your children, this person. You get bent out of shape. You become impulsive. You get egotistic. Rough and tough, and you start spitting and growling, get bent out of shape. How many times? Where is your forbearance and your tolerance? Self-control. That right there is a mission from Fajr to Isha. Don't worry about anything else but controlling your anger. Make that your daily jihad. And I guarantee you'll see how challenging it is. When was the last time that you were cool and calm and collective all day long? Some of us, we spaz out. We have tirades every 5 seconds. We get into an argument, holler, curse. We have to use exclamation marks when we text, this, and that. That wasn't the character of the Prophet ﷺ. And we know from the characteristics of the munafiqs, the Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِذَا خَاصَمَ فَجَرَ. And when he argues and debates, he becomes a fajr. He has no problem lying. He has no problem exaggerating. He has no problem stretching the truth. He has no problem hiding evidence. He has no problem doing whatever he can do to win. That's the attribute of the munafiq. And it wasn't the attribute of the Prophet. The Prophet was tolerant, forbearing. He had thick skin. And he didn't allow the people to get him bent out of shape unnecessarily. No, he says, وَكَانَ أَشَدَّ حَيَاءً مِنَ الْعَذْرَاءِ فِي خِدْرِهَا. And he was extremely shy. The Prophet was a very shy and bashful man. وَالْقَرِيبُ وَالْبَعِيدُ. The close, the remote. وَالْقَوِيُّ وَالضَّعِيفُ. The strong and the weak. عِنْدَهُ فِي الْحَقِّ سَوَاء. Everyone was equal. Everyone was equal. Our country, the United States, what is the symbol of justice? There's a woman holding the scales, and she's wearing a what? A blindfold. The poor man, the weak man, the rich man, the yellow man, the white man, everyone is sawa, same. And the only thing that's supposed to matter in a court of law is evidence, period. Who your father is, your mother is, your tribe is, what you look like, light skin, dark skin, matters not. Blind justice. The non-Muslims, they chose to make that their symbol. That means something. How many Muslims, Muslim countries, in which they say, who's your father? What tribe are you from? What's your clan? What part of Philly are you from? You from down bottom? You from north? You from South Philly? Who knows you? Who? It's the first question that we ask. You want to get married? Oh yeah. You want to do this? Oh yeah. We don't look like this. Our blindfold is totally in the trash. Muslims overseas, bribery. You want to get something done, a simple paper signed. You go to the office, you speak to the mudir, you say, hey, Sheikh, I need a stamp. He says, Wallahi, I can't do it. Wallahi, I can't do it. You go back, you speak to someone, tell them that such and such sent you. You go back to him, ahlan, gives you the stamp, just like that. And he just told you, Wallahi, that he couldn't stamp your paper. I can't, Wallahi, I couldn't if I wanted to. Uqsam, I swear by Allah, I can't do it. Tell him I sent you. Oh, come on. Sad. It's a very sad state of the Muslims, in which people that are far away, we treat them a certain way. People that are close, we treat them a different way. People that are high and noble, they get treated away. All of this is against the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. None of them were like this. He then says, وَمَا عَابَ طَعَامًا قَطْ إِنْ اشْتَهَاهُ أَكَلَهُ وَإِلَّا تَرَكَهُ وَلَا يَأْكُلُ مُتَّكِيًا وَلَا عَلَى خِوَانٍ وَيَأْكُلُ مَا تَيَسَّرَ ولا يمتنع من مباح ما وكان يحب الحلوى والعسل ويعجبه الدباء وهو الغيقطين وقال نعم الإدام الخل وفضل عائشة على النساء كفضل الثريد على سائر الطعام وكان أحب الشاة إليه الذراع وقال أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه خرج رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من الدنيا ولم يشبع من خبز الشعير يعني للعدم وكان يأتي الشهر والشهران ولا يوقد في بيت من بيوته نار. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ never ever talked bad or spoke down upon food. He never found fault in the food. If he desired the food, he would eat it. And if he didn't want the food, he would leave it alone. Look at the simplicity of the Messenger ﷺ's sunnah. There's no complexity. I don't like chicken. I don't like fish. It's too spicy. You burnt it. It's like a piece of styrofoam. It's dry. No, thank you. Shukran. Jazakallahu khairan. I'll pass. That's it. Instead of poking at it and picking at it with your fork. Were you blind? How long did you cook it for? Why you cook it so long? It's dry. There's no need to talk like that. If you don't like it, say Jazakallahu khairan. Which the person may be offended. You may hurt their feelings, but it's not the same as you picking and poking at it. Is it still dead? Is it alive? That wasn't the Prophet of Sunnah. Another very interesting issue is what's meant by aibul ta'am, finding fault in the food. What's meant by that? What's meant by finding fault in the food? If you say the food is too salty, is that finding fault in the food? The food is too spicy. The food is too bland. It's too dry. What's meant by that? Or talking about the food and the nature of the food. Oh man, chicken again? Really? Chicken again? We had chicken yesterday. We had chicken before. What's meant by aibul ta'am? And if someone asks you, how is the food? Are you allowed to lie to them and say it's good, it's delicious? Or do you tell them, no, I think it's burnt. I think you overcooked it. This spaghetti, my favorite dish, the dish that I love, but it's, it's not really that good. What's meant by the aibul ta'am? Many people have a misconception on aibul ta'am. No, he says he never ever did that. If he liked it, he ate it. And if he didn't like it, he left it alone. The Prophet ﷺ, he never ate muttaki'an. Al-ittika has two interpretations. The first interpretation is that the Prophet never sat back and he ate. He never reclined. He wouldn't eat sitting back and reclining. And other scholars, they say that hadith means mutarabbi'an. He didn't eat with his legs crossed like that. He wouldn't sit like that. Rather, he would sit in a different manner which would prevent him from eating too much. Okay? So the concept of the Prophet ﷺ not eating in a certain way, it doesn't mean that it's haram. But if a person left off that manner or that style of eating to imitate the Messenger of Allah, he would get a reward. So the Messenger of Allah, certain ways he would not eat. And there are wisdoms behind that. The Prophet ﷺ, he also says, And he never ate upon a khiwan. And a khiwan is basically a mini table. A mini table. The Prophet never ate upon a table. He would prefer to eat upon something that was low, on the floor. It does not mean that it's haram to eat upon a table. It does not mean that it's disliked to eat upon a table. And it doesn't mean that it is from the ways of the Jews and the Christians 100%, that you can't, tashabbuh bihim. But the Prophet never did it. The Prophet was humble. He was humble, and he liked simple, basic, humble things. So if you have a table in your house, it's not necessarily haram, but I would advise to mix it up. Sometimes you eat on the table, sometimes you sit on the floor. Mix it up. And there are many benefits in eating on the floor, many benefits. Tight, moving forward. It then says, وَيَأْكُلُ مَا تَيَسَّرَ. The Prophet ate whatever was there, whatever he had. If he had meat, he ate meat. If he had dates, he had dates. If there was milk, barley, he ate whatever was available. Very important part of life is that you don't have to go out of your way and make a hardship. If Allah blesses you to eat something fine and delicious, alhamdulillah. That's what you have. That's easy. Allah made it easy for you. And many people, they say, I don't eat this food, I don't want to drink this because of this hadith and because of that hadith. Listen, ya akhi, don't worry. Hard times will come. Hard times will come. Or don't worry, son. I've been through so many hardships and difficulties. I've done it for you. You enjoy the smooth part of life. I paid your dues for you. Times in which I didn't have food. Times in which I went to sleep wearing a down coat because the heat was off. Times in which I took a bird bath because there was no hot running water. Times in which you had bread and beans or yogurt and bread for dinner. You eat the meat. You eat the lamb chops. Alhamdulillah for that. Allah's blessing comes to you, then you take Allah's blessing. And there are going to be plenty of times in which there will be difficulties. Everyone is going to be tested. Everyone. At one point or another in this dunya, Allah is going to test someone while taking something away from them. So let the good times roll, as we say. So there's tremendous wisdom in this. The Prophet ate what was tayassar, what was easy. If red meat was easy, that's what he ate. And if it wasn't easy to eat red meat, he wouldn't go out of his way to get it. He would eat whatever was in front of him, whatever was presented to him. And obviously, we're talking about food, we're talking about seerah, but this is a deeper principle of life. Take what's easy. With regards to getting married, finding a sister. Allah brought the sister to you. Sure, she could be like this, or she's not like this, or I want one that's better, or I want, but that's not easy. And the proof that it's not easy is that it's not there in front of you. And the moment you go out of your way, you make an attempt to get it, it becomes further out of reach. Take what's in front of you. And the same applies to a brother, your husband. Look at the good in your husband. Don't look at the bad in your husband. Take what's tayassar, what's simple, the akhlaq of your husband that are right in front of you. He has this fault, he has this mistake, I wish he would do this better, but look at all the good that I have, that Allah has made it easy for me. So this, if you have this philosophy in life, quote unquote philosophy, it will make your life so easier, so simpler. To just be easy, be simple, be cool. Don't go out of your way, don't make a hardship for yourself unnecessarily. And Allah has no doubt that Allah wanted us to learn this from the Prophet. Allah wanted us to learn this from his eating manner and apply it to other aspects of life. No, he says, وَلَا يَمْتَنِعُ مِن مُبَاحٍ مَا. Anything which was lawful, the Prophet, he would never reject. He would never refuse from eating or taking something which was lawful. There are no strings attached. There's nothing haram about it, nothing disliked about it. He would take it. And that's another very important life principle. Do you know more than Allah? Are you more pious than the Messenger of Allah? Oh, I don't want to do that because of such and such. And I don't want to do this because I might fall into this. We have to be careful when we read certain narrations of many of the people of the past. This person wouldn't eat. This person wouldn't sleep on a bed. This person would stand up until he fell out. This person would fast until his tongue was black and green. The Prophet never did that. And the Prophet never rejected fresh things. He never rejected good things. The Prophet never rejected simple things as long as it was mubah. So when we talk about zuhd and we talk about al-wara', there's a balance. And when you read the athar, you'll find many positions of many of the people of the past which is against this. Imam Ahmed wouldn't allow his sons to eat this. This Imam would say, you can't bring this into my house. Imam Ahmed said it, yes. This Tabi'i said it, this Sahabi said it. But the Prophet ﷺ ate fresh fruit. And he never ever said, don't bring the fresh fruit. The Prophet ﷺ allowed this perfume. The Prophet ﷺ allowed this gift to be given to him. So that's the sunnah. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is crystal clear. He says, and the Prophet used to like al-halwa, a type of sweet, a sweet type of thing, something sweet to eat. The Prophet, he liked sweet things, and he also enjoyed honey. What could be sweeter than honey? What could be more luxurious and extravagant than what? Honey. The moment the honey hits your tongue, your whole mouth is in joy from the sweetness of the honey, the benefit of the honey. And the Prophet, he ate the honey, and he was fond of honey. And he also used to like al-dubba. He liked squash. He liked zucchini. It was one of his favorite things to eat. This type of vegetable, which is actually a fruit. We call it a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit. Dubba is a fruit. Tayyib. He used to like squash and zucchini. He also said, ni'man idamul khal. He said, vinegar is an excellent sauce. Vinegar is an excellent sauce, meaning the Prophet allowed us and encouraged us to have certain things as sauce or a dressing. You don't just have to have a salad with lettuce and tomato or cucumber. There's nothing wrong with a dressing. There's nothing wrong with some sauce. If you want some sauce on your food, that's fine. And the Prophet ﷺ also said, the virtue that Aisha has over the rest of the women, the virtue of Aisha over the rest of the women is like the virtue of meat and bread over the rest of the food. Meaning meat, bread, and sauce is a good meal to have. So there's nothing wrong with having what? Meat and sauce, meat and bread. Whether it's a steak, whether it's a cheesesteak, whatever is your cultural dish that involves that, it's not haram to eat. It is not disliked to have. The Prophet ﷺ was fond of lamb, mutton, and he liked the shanks. He enjoyed the shanks very much so. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ left this world, when he left this dunya, he never became full from khubz al-sha'ir. We have different types of bread, right? Whole wheat bread, you have white flour, you have grain, and you have barley. It's not the finest type of bread. It's not the softest, tastiest type of bread. It's a low type of quality. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he left this world, he never ate to his full from that type of bread. No, he says about this, minat lil adam, because he didn't have it. Not that he would reject the fine bread or the good bread, but he only ate what was what? In front of him. Everyone understand this? Moving forward, he then says, and months would go, months would come, months would pass by, and there was never a fire in the household of the Prophet ﷺ. There was no fire. If you have no fire in your house, you're not eating soup, let alone something roasted, something grilled, something that is broiled or baked. You're eating something which is cold. Everyone understand this? Dates, water, stuff like this. Imagine that if you didn't cook for an entire month. Try it out. Just think about it. Go all day without eating no food cooked. Whether you have a hoagie or a cold sandwich or a salad. Even if someone else cooked it. But for you, 24 hours, don't cut on the stove. No tea, nothing. No coffee, nothing. Then try it a second day and a third day and a fourth day. You'll be shocked how hard and how difficult it is to have no fire in your house. Also, no hot water. No hot water. There's no fire in your household for an entire month. Try it out. You'll be shocked how ungrateful you are and how forgetful you are of Allah's blessings to have running hot water. Do we realize this, that in the past, kings, emperors, noble courtiers, they were the ones who washed up daily. They were the ones who had a hot bath, a shower that was hot, abundant water. And nowadays, alhamdulillah, we cut on the faucet and we take a 20-minute shower. You scrub, rub-a-dub-dub, singing in the shower. Use soap and body wash and this, that. You scrub yourself. In the past, that was something that was made for a king. Rich people had the luxury of sitting in a cauldron with steaming hot water and soap and the scrub and to clean themselves. So many luxuries that we have today that weren't available for the people in the past. So we have to be mindful of these blessings. وَكَانَ يَأْكُلُ الْهَدِيَّةِ وَلَا يَأْكُلُ الصَّدَقَةِ وَيُكَافِئُ عَلَى الْهَدِيَّةِ وَيَخْصِفُ النَّعْلِ وَيُرَقِّعُ الثَّوْبِ وَيَعُودُ الْمَرِيضِ وَيُجِيبُ مَنْ دَعَاهُ مِنْ غَنِيٍّ وَفَقِيرٍ وَدَنِيٍّ وَشَرِيفٍ وَلَا يَحْقِرُ أَحَدًا. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ would eat from gifts. Someone gave him a gift, he would not refuse it. He was not above and beyond taking a gift and eating from it. But he refused to eat from charity, sadaqah. He could not eat from sadaqah and Ahlul Bayt. They were not allowed to eat from sadaqah, but a gift was okay. The Prophet ﷺ used to stitch his sandals. He would sew his thobes. He would visit the sick. He would respond to anyone who invited him, rich or poor, high or low. And he never looked down upon anyone. He never looked down upon anyone. Just stop and think about these words, brothers and sisters. Those who say that the Prophet ﷺ was a fake prophet, and he was a man who sought power. He was a man who sought control. He was a womanizer. He was a man who just used religion for his own personal gains. Okay, no problem. What information do you have about this man named Muhammad? What type of food did he eat? What type of women did he marry? What type of clothes did he wear? What type of animal did he ride upon? How did he walk? Does a rich, luxurious person sew his own sandals, stitch his own leather sandals? Do you stitch a hole or rip in your clothes? Would a month go by in a rich person's house in which there's no fire? But they'll say, oh, that's made up. Those are lies. That's the Muslims' version. That's the Muslims' propaganda. Okay, maybe it is. What information do you have, though? What chains of narration do you have? Tfaddal, please show us. Give us your report, the documentation of Muhammad's life. If you don't have anything that can debunk what we're saying, wouldn't it make sense to just take what we have? Doesn't that make sense? Let alone the fact that the Quran is full of ayat in which Allah Azza wa Jalla speaks to the Prophet and corrects the Prophet and reprimands the Prophet. Like Surah Abasa, we just mentioned. If the messenger made up the Quran and brought it himself, why would he leave that in the Quran? He frowned and turned away. Anyone with any common sense, let alone a mastermind, to make this beautiful, eloquent book, he's going to leave that in there? He frowned and he turned away. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ, Allah says. What will make you understand that the blind man wanted the guidance and they didn't? He's not going to leave that in there. And in other ayats in which Allah reprimands the Prophet ﷺ with regards to this stepson or this marriage, many verses, Allah reprimands the Prophet for things that he did. And he instructs the Prophet and he teaches the Prophet. And it's recited in the Quran up to this what? Up to this day. So that's not making too much sense now. So someone who's a womanizer, why was the Prophet ﷺ, why were his wives widows and older women? If the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, according to what you wish to say, was a man who took advantage of young women, and he lusted and desired after young women, okay, why was only one of his wives at that young age? Sauda, Khadija, Maymuna, Salama, Zainab. Who from among them was of that age? You're not making sense now. Your argument that's supposed to be academic and that's supposed to be accurate is clearly flawed. Clearly flawed. So a person, he gets yaqeen in his dawah by studying the Prophet's life. And the life of the Prophet is only taken and only studied through his hadiths. And this is a proof that hadith is the foundation of everything. And the stronger you are in hadith, the better you are at da'wah. Because your argument is based off of and is supported by facts, evidence. Tell me about your prophet. Tell me about your guru. The one that we have to follow. Tell me about him. Give me information about him. And this is a tactic that I would advise you to use. Most people who claim a person that they follow, that they love, 9 out of 10 of them can't describe the person. Let's get even deeper than that. A Muslim, you follow this sheikh. What does Sheikh Fulan look like? Fadl. Tell me what it looks like. Have you ever seen him? You ever sat next to him? What's his favorite meal? Give me a description about his life. And you're so obsessed with him. Tell me one thing about his personal life that you know. This is an extremely important question here. And this is also used against those who call themselves Christians. And they talk about Christ. Well, tell us about Christ. And we believe in Isa. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. But I'm trying to prove a point that your way is faulty. What color was Jesus? Was he white or black? Did he have straight, fine hair or curly, woolly hair? Where is it documented in your scriptures, in your books? Where's the chain of narration that talks about Isa in detail? Because I can give you everything about the Prophet, even the stuff that you consider to be bad. That he married a woman of this age. And he supposedly committed genocide against these Jews in Arabia. I have the evidence. I have everything for and against him. What can you provide me with regards to Christ? Or this guru, or this prophet or this one that you claim to believe in and follow? Tell me about them. They can't give you anything. So something is wrong if you're obsessed with a person, following a person, believing in a person, worshiping a person, and you don't know too much about. So this is one of the fawaid, one of the benefits of the seerah. One of the benefits of ilm al-hadith with regards to Dawa is that we have detailed description of what we do, why we do it, how we do it. Can you say the same about yourself? Can you prove that? You can't. So studying the seerah is not going to bring anything bidhnillahi ta'ala but light upon your heart, upon your mind, and inshallah ta'ala is going to give you sharp words when you give da'wah. Because you know what, how, when, and why, what the proofs and what the evidence is. النووي رحمه الله تعالى says وكان يقود تارة القرفصاء وتارة متربيا وتكأ في أوقات وفي كثير من الأوقات أو في أكثرها محتبيا بيديه وكان يأكل بأصابعه الثلاث ويلعقهن ويتنافس في الشراب بالإناء ثلاثا خارج الإناء ويتكلم بجوامع الكلم ويعيد الكلمة ثلاثا لتفهم وكلامه بين يفهمه من سمع ولا يتكلم من غير حاجة ولا يقعد ولا يقوم إلا على ذكر الله تعالى وركب الفرس والبعير والحمار والبغل وأردف معاذا خلفه على ناقة وعلى حمار ولا يدع أحدا يمشي خلفه. He then says, and the Prophet ﷺ, he had different ways and styles of sitting. Different ways and styles of sitting down. Allahu Akbar. I know how my Prophet sat down. What can you tell me about yours? What can you tell me about your leader? You don't know what color he was, let alone how he what? How he sat. Sometimes the Prophet crossed his legs. Sometimes his legs were in front. Sometimes he sat. Sometimes he reclined, etc. He sat in different manners. And the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, he would eat with his 3 fingers and he would lick them. He would lick his fingers. And whenever he drank something, he would take 3 breaths outside of the cup or the gauntlet or the vessel. And whenever he spoke with comprehensive words. He didn't have as what we call weasel words, small, fragmented words. His words were solid. His words were concrete. His words were powerful and they were meaningful. Powerful and meaningful. He didn't have to say a lot, but when he spoke, it meant something. He didn't have to keep running on and on and on. His words were jawami'. One sentence meant a paragraph. One paragraph was a chapter. One chapter could be explained and expounded upon in a book. That's how the Prophet ﷺ spoke. And whenever he spoke, he says, sometimes he would repeat himself. And he would say something 3 times for the people to get the clear message. The clear message. His words were plain, simple. Anyone who heard him understood what he meant and understood what he said. There was no ambiguity in his speech. And he never spoke unless there was a need. He did not talk unless there was a need. How much happier would our lives be if we implemented this? Talking unnecessarily. Only speaking when we have to speak. Instead of giving a sentence, give 1 word. And the same applies even to a street level. A street level. You don't have to holler and scream and make a bunch of threats. Would you say to the brother, where you at? No, but I'm saying I was advised. I get that. Jazakallah khairan. Just tell me where you at. It's nothing. It's no long conversation that's needed. I'm coming to you. You don't have to come to me. No Uber. Just tell me where you at. And everything that you can say, you can what? Face to face. No. Just tell me where you at. Real tough guys, they don't holler and scream and pound walls and punch holes in walls. That's what cowards do. They don't have to make threats. They make promises. You've been warned. Khalas. There's nothing to say. The words are solid. Powerful speakers. They don't have to talk for 45 minutes. They have to talk for half an hour. It's khutbah, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's done. You sold. Because his words are solid. His words are concrete. His words are not small and fragmented. That's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Not to speak unnecessarily, to talk too much, to say too much. There's nothing that's needed to be said besides this. That's the bottom line. Yes, no, inshallah, and that's it, khalas. And Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, and whenever the Messenger of Allah stood up, and whenever he sat down, it was always upon the dhikr of Allah. He always mentioned Allah's name, getting up and sitting down, lying down, etc. The Prophet ﷺ rode horses, he rode camels, he rode donkeys, and he rode mules. And sometimes it was someone on the back of the animal with him, such as Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And the Prophet ﷺ never allowed anyone to walk behind him. He never allowed people to just tag along and follow him, walking directly behind him. You can walk on the side of me, you can talk to me, whatever, you have a question, but it's no need for me to put myself in a position of, yeah, you're my servant. It wasn't how the Prophet ﷺ was. Listen to these words. The Prophet did not like tag-alongs and lackeys. And there's some of us, we love tag-alongs and we love lackeys. If you're my student, my disciple, my son, my daughter, you can talk to me. Even though I'm above you, I'm older than you, I'm your teacher. But it doesn't mean that it's a servant and master relationship in which you're a total flunky, a total lackey. As we say, you're just Joe. You just smile and shake your hand and just servant. La, 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 la. And whenever you see that from anyone, in most cases, know for sure there's something wrong with that person. In which they're fond and they're pleased with someone just always walking behind them. Yes, 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 yes. And they're surrounded by yes men. They're surrounded by people who never ever disagree with them. And it doesn't mean that they have to be disrespectful. And it doesn't mean that you disagree with your teacher or your older brother in public. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you disagree with your husband in public. But you're a yes man. Every single thing is yes, yes, yes. And you're always right. Just think about this now. In which, in order for you to contact me, you got to go through 5 or 6 or 7 different people. You can't talk to me. You can't sit to me. Brother Fulan's, I'm speaking on his behalf. Let Brother Fulan talk. Why are you calling me? And wallahi, it's not an exaggeration. I've had brothers call me before. Literally. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. This is such and such. What's going on? Such and such. Okay, you start talking 5 minutes. Then 5 minutes later, another person tags himself in. Yeah, I was on the line too. Then another 10 minutes, a third brother comes in. Wallahi. Then 30 minutes later, Brother Fulan says, Jazakallah khairan, I was listening the whole time. What is going on? And which a person has to have someone to introduce them to have a basic phone conversation. Something's wrong. And anytime you surround yourself around yes men is a reflection of you and your insecurities and what you lack. And you can't bear the thought of someone having any brain power in your circle. There's a wise man, he once said, if everyone in the room is thinking the same, someone in the room isn't thinking. If every single person in the room is thinking the exact same thing, we all agree 100%. There's no type of variation. We can make ijma', that's not a problem. The shura. Me and Abu Sajid, we agree. But say, no, I think Mufti, you should do it like this. Or Abu Sajid, no, do it like that. But we agree on the idea of the conference. But it's everyone in the room shaking their heads, bobbling their heads. This wise man, he says, someone in the room didn't actually what? Cut on his brain. And he just went along with the flow. And he just shook his head and bobbled his head along with the next person. Just think about this now. Are these the people that you have in your circle? You have knowledgeable people around you? People who dare and have the audacity to say, with all due respect, I differ with you on this issue. With all due respect. Or do you have people that just say, yes, I'm sheikh, all day, every day? It means something. So from that, he says, he says about the Prophet, he never allowed people to just walk behind him unnecessarily, in which you're just a tag along. I know that I'm older than you. With all humbleness and humility, everybody knows I'm more knowledgeable than you. But come, walk to me, talk to me. You got a question? Fadl, I'm listening to you, akhi. You don't take 10 paces behind me. And then when we stop, then you can ask me the question. Something's wrong. And oftentimes people who accuse people of being egotistical and accuse people of being proud, accuse people of being arrogant and conceited, they are the worst. And that's one of the oldest tricks in the book. And that is the deflective strategy. Is that I'm so full of myself, I now have to accuse you of being full of yourself. That way you're not thinking about how high up I am on the throne. He said, I don't walk, I get carried. Poet, he said this. You understand this? So we have to be mindful of this with regards to humility, with regards to humbleness. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, وَعَصَبَ عَلَى بَطْنِهِ الْحَجَرُ مِنَ الْجُوعِ وَكَانَ يَبِيتُ هُوَ وَأَهْلُهُ اللَّيَالِي طَاوِينَ وَفِرَاشُهُ مِنْ أَدَمٍ حَشْبُهُ مِنْ لِيفٍ وكان متقللا من أمتعة الدنيا كلها وقد أعطاه الله تعالى مفاتيح خزائن الأرض كلها فبأن يأخذها واختار الآخرة عليها. He says that the Messenger of Allah says sometimes he would tie stones around his midsection because he was so hungry. Take a string, a rope, put the stones and tie it around his midsection to prevent himself from feeling the pains of hunger. And how he would sleep, what his bed was made of. It wasn't an extravagant mattress, wasn't a throne that he slept upon. A simple, basic bed with basic stuffing. And he reduced, and he was minimalist, as they say, of the worldly things. He didn't have too many worldly possessions. We have a frenzy now, right? And the craze now. You go on YouTube, right? They have those different hotels in Japan and Tokyo, and which is a bubble, right? A capsule type of hotel. No bathroom, no shower. It's nothing but a simple mattress and a TV screen. That's it. There's no desk, it's nothing. You ever seen this on YouTube? Or you see the people that live in very thin houses, thin homes. Or people who have no libraries, everything is virtual. They have a few small, basic possessions. It's a craze that the people are doing now. You ever seen it? You guys never seen it before? You never seen it? Go on YouTube. You find many people say, I'm a minimalist, right? I reduce my worldly needs. Some are non-Muslims, in which the house in which you live is totally extravagant. We're talking about non-Muslims. And it doesn't have to be for a religious purpose, but they believe it's just wasteful and it's unnecessary. You don't need this big, gigantic house. Rather, you go to Europe. How small were the rooms there in the UK? Tiny. Hotels like sardines. Sardine can. A basic 3-star hotel in America is going to be bigger than the average room there. The food, the portions, and the list goes on. They had other hotels there. They were nice hotels. Don't get it twisted. There were plenty of nice hotels, big hotels. But even the bigger ones, things, just the mindset is what? It's different. The United States is a huge country versus Great Britain. Thousands and millions of people, inhabitants. So just think about the concept of the non-Muslims today. They have this concept of excess is bad. Too much is bad. It's a distraction from actually achieving your goals and obtaining things that you're out to obtain. The Prophet ﷺ, he establishes what? Over 1,400 years ago. It's not haram to have this. It may not be disliked, but it's unnecessary. You don't need it. It's just too many possessions that you have. And many of us, we have this syndrome, the syndrome of pack rats, in which we just pack stuff and stuff into our cars, our houses, our homes. We have so much junk. When's the last time you read one of those books? When's the last time you wore one of those shirts? When's the last time you used one of those pots? When's the last time you wore that pair of high heel shoes or that overgarment? If you stop and think about how much stuff you have in your house, it's a ton of stuff. And in most cases, you're not even using it and utilizing it. So that's something to be what? To be mindful of. Allah surely knows best. The Prophet, he wasn't like this. مُتَقَلِّلًا. He only took a little bit from the worldly possessions. Not saying that it's what? Haram. Not saying that it's haram. Or even disliked. But just think about what excess leads you to. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop here tonight with regards to the seerah. Bidnillahi ta'ala, and leave some time for some questions. Perhaps we'll take some questions. And Allah the Mighty and the Most High surely knows best. We ask Him to forgive us of our sins and have mercy upon our souls. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow us to imitate the Prophet ﷺ in all aspects of imitation, and to make us husbands like the Prophet was a husband, to make us wives like the Prophet's wives were wives, to make us teachers like the Prophet was a teacher, students like the Prophet was a student, leaders like the Prophet ﷺ was a leader, community members, neighbors, at peace, at war, friend and foe. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to place us upon the Sunnah and to keep us thereupon, and to realize the tremendous responsibility it is to say on the Sunnah, being on the Sunnah and letting the Sunnah go forth and not stopping it. It's a responsibility, and the foundation of that responsibility is knowledge. Al-ilmu qabla al-qawli wal-amal. Knowledge precedes speech and action. That's the Sunnah, is based off of ilm. The more of the Prophet and the Sunnah we know of, the more we implement, bidnillahi ta'ala, the better Muslims we will become and remain, and Allah surely knows best. Fadal.
You touched on how a person can get angry, how a person can get angry and they say it's for Allah's religion. What I wanted to know was, sometimes, we say we get angry because Allah's limits are being violated or something like that, even to the point that we'll get angry with a Muslim for deviation, or we'll get angry to the non-Muslims for doing things that they shouldn't do, but at the same time, we're lenient with the ones that we love and the ones that's close and family and friends. We'll let them slide with everything. Is that a contradiction?
There's no question about it. This is exactly what we said. We don't have blindfolds. My grandmother, I'm lifting it up. My brother, my man, my student, my teacher, I'm what? I'm taking it off. But you as an outsider, different story. Or even taking it off as well, looking at who the person is. So it's no complexities. It's no complexities. It's simple, extremely simple. Be just upon friend and foe. Friend and foe. Anything that's against Kitab and Sunnah should make you angry. You understand this? And not being selective. All right? So it's a disease that we suffer from. And as long as we suffer from this disease, we're going to be in a situation in which we're in. But we all know it's a big game and it's a big joke. The person becomes so angry, as you said, deviation. He's a deviant. He's done this, kada. But look how lenient he is with kuffar. Ask yourselves the question, for argument's sake, who's going to be in the hellfire forever? Or this deviant person? For argument's sake. And it doesn't mean the next extremism, or the next part of extremism, anta tatahawan, you're light and you're easy upon. No one is light and easy on bid'ah. No one is being light and easy on innovation. No. We're trying to prove a point that you're not keeping it real. Kufr is, what could be greater than that? What could be greater than shirk? What's worse? Okay, so selective. We want to stand up for Allah's deen when we want to. And the same applies to different countries overseas and humanitarian projects. The people, they'll scream and they'll cry for a country. But this country's been getting bombed and blown up for how many years now? These Muslims have been killed and murdered for how many years now? No one went to the street, picked up a sign and protested. We pick and we choose and we select the love and the hate that we want to have. That's the problem that we suffer from. May Allah help us in that. I mean, Fadal. Benefits upon eating on the floor. Could you share some of those benefits? One benefit of eating on the floor is to reflect. Reflect on the blessing of the table. Where did that table come from? What tree was cut down? How hard is it to cut down a tree? To quarter the wood, to process the wood, to polish it, to put it together? How much work is put into a table? When was the last time you thought about that? Eating on the floor makes you reflect on that blessing of having a table to sit upon. And anything that takes you into a conscious state in which you reflect and you remind yourself of Allah's blessing is going to be good for you. Walking without driving, the automobile. You get in your car, you drive how many miles you want. You have air conditioning, heated seats, heat, tinted windows. You have so much comfort and luxury. Now walk 5 miles yourself. Walk 10 miles yourself. You understand this? It was one brother overseas. He said that one of my dreams in Saudi is to walk from Mecca to Medina. I don't want to get in a cab. I don't want to get in a bus or a train. I want to walk from Mecca to Medina. So the brother said, why? He says, because I want to see what the Prophet ﷺ went through. How far it was to walk on my feet. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ's shoes were nothing like this brother's shoes. The roads, having water, having a phone. But he still wanted to realize the difficulty. So if you don't drive every now and then and you walk, you realize the blessing of the car, right? When you fast and your stomach is hungry, you're hungry, your belly is empty, you realize the blessing of food. You can't be with your wife right now. You say, dag man, I see what it's like when Brother Flynn is not married all year round. He can't get a wife, he can't get married. Now I see what it feels like to have desires and they can't be fulfilled. You reflect on it, I guarantee you're going to appreciate your wife more. And anyone who's married knows that. In Ramadan, you appreciate iftar. This is a reality. Let's keep it real. It's the summertime. Isha is late at night. Fajr is early in the morning. You what? You got to sleep, you got to rest, you got to eat, and what? Sadaqah. It's a reality. We can, but you appreciate it more. You appreciate time more in Ramadan. Think how lax you are with time, right? Fajr, Isha, praying, sleeping, you're lax. But now you know in a couple of hours, sun is going to be up. In a couple of hours, Fajr is going to be in. There's no more food. There's no more relations with your wife. So in Ramadan, you reflect. It's a blessing to be married. It's a blessing to have a husband. It's a blessing to have a wife. It's a blessing to have food all of the time. So when you sit on the floor, it reminds you of the blessing of the table, the comfort of the table, right? Another virtue or benefit of eating on the floor, first and foremost, is the Prophet did it. And that's more than enough. Thirdly, oftentimes, you come closer together when you're on the floor. Because when you're at a table, everyone has his or her own chair. And it's not but so close that the chairs can be. Right or wrong? It's not but so close that the chair can be. You can get close, but it's not but so close. I'm on the floor, we can actually be what? The brother comes saying, oh, come on, move out the way. Bismillah. Come on, come get some of this. Bismillah. You can actually be on the brother eating. Anytime you're closer to your brother, you're more intimate with your brother, that's going to support Islamic brotherhood. And that's the core fabric. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Allah said the believers are nothing more than brothers. That's what they are, brothers. So that's the benefit of eating on the floor. Another benefit of eating on the floor, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is that perhaps it will prevent a person from overeating. Or perhaps it will prevent a person from eating too little. And this is one of the wisdoms that the ulama mentioned of eating from one plate. Brothers who have big appetites and brothers who have small appetites, you're not on blast as much, right? But you have your own plate at the table with your fork, your spoon. I know exactly how much you ate. Is this not the case? You have a portion of chicken, you have a portion of string beans, you have a portion of rice, you have a salad, you have this, you have that. I'm looking directly at how much you ate. Dang, you finished your plate already? Right? That's not the same when everyone is eating together. You can say to a brother, "Kul, man, kill." They say overseas, "You didn't eat." But it's not the same because everybody is what? Eating together. So the spotlight is not what? On you, how much you eat or how much you what? Don't eat. And that prevents embarrassment and shyness. Just think about that now. And that's oftentimes on the what? On the floor. You can eat from one plate at a table, but it's not as easy as it is what? On the floor. See, this is some of the benefits of eating on the floor. And under any circumstance doesn't mean that it's haram to eat on the table. Under any circumstance doesn't mean that it's disliked to eat on the table. We never ever said that. Wallahu alam. Fadal.
Going back to what you just talked about, when the Messenger of Allah said he used to tie the stones around his stomach. And also, we had the hadith about when he used to eat from the two blacks, the water and the dates. Is there anything that says that those hadith were at a particular time and then later on the condition changed?
Question is regarding the Prophet ﷺ tying the knotted rope or the rope with the stones around his midsection and eating from the two blacks, the dates and the water, versus other times when she had other things to eat. Was it at a later time? Was it abrogated? Was it a specific situation? Etc. I don't know of any specific date. Rather, as Abu Hurairah mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ left the dunya without becoming full on a specific type of bread. So it was something that was continuous. It was continuous. But it was continuous based off of this situation. So the Prophet ﷺ having it versus him asking for it, he could have always asked for it. He could have raised his hands. He could have asked Abu Bakr or Uthman or Abdurrahman ibn Auf, the rich, wealthy companions, but he didn't. He didn't. So therefore, that's the sunnah. And this goes to show us flexibility. Flexibility. Be flexible. There is no set rule or law how you live. Sometimes we have meat, sometimes we have beans. Sometimes we eat this, sometimes we eat that. Whatever is what? Convenient. In light of what's a bigger priority. A bigger priority is for us to go here, make it here on time, or to buy this, to give this in sadaqah, or to make umrah. So therefore we're going to sacrifice and relinquish other things. But if that's not the case, alhamdulillah, we had steak tonight. We had salmon tonight. We had this type of thing tonight. Alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem comes in when you can't get the steak. You can't get the shrimp. You can't get the brand name. You can't get the expensive luxury stuff unless you do haram, unless you beg, unless you lie, unless you exaggerate. That's the danger zone. And that life of luxury, and you are addicted to luxuries, it what? It leads you to that. And what you don't have the ability to walk when your car is broken down. You can't eat on the floor if you don't have a table. You understand this? You can't just have vegetables if there's no meat in front of you. So that's the greatest lesson from that, is to be able to rough it out when you what? When you have to rough it out. The hadith's about combing your hair every day and greasing your hair every day. What's meant by that hadith is men not becoming too pretty, too comfortable, too aware of their outward image and appearance. Because you never know, you have to what? Rough it up. There's no pretty stuff right now. It's time to be rough and tough. But if you're always dainty and pretty and your hands are manicured and moisturized and this and that, you will complain when your car is broken down. You'll complain when something goes wrong at the airport. You'll complain about the money that you don't have, and you'll jump out of character. You start arguing and fighting and fussing. That's the issue. And Allah surely knows best. Fadl Shaykh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Virgins will eat on the floor. I don't want to get my age up too much here. That in my household back in the day, you better eat on the floor.
Allahu Akbar.
It brought us closer. It brought us closer. And the wrong was, you better not buy no table and put it in my house. That was how we came up with it. But the virtues began to question. It broke our family closer. To the point that drink out of one glass, everybody in the family better drink out of one glass. Whether that was right or wrong, I don't know, but that's how rough we go. So I hope that answers your question. Two, you mentioned something before, Sheikh, that about people having sex with you, and you always talking about, and they don't know you by experience. So I traveled all through the states. I've never got to travel with by the way. All through the states in 3 hours. And retired in 2016. True story. Sitting out the box of it. I heard about y'all brothers so much, man. When I came home, it was amazing. And I said, you know what? I gotta catch up with my people. And after reuniting after years, and so far, I've been looking at these people and said, that's why I don't even never set up with me. That's the spirit. 3, I'm gonna shut up back at this. Culture and history, I mean, you're a book. There's nobody yet, my age, let me say, that never told the rich district of the Philadelphia Navy Yard and what Islam brought to it.
The Philadelphia Navy Yard?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard it yet, and it's good for our young brothers to know what Islam brought to the Navy Yard. One quick one, because I was the first one. You had the Italians run it, you had the Irish run it, and we was at the bottom four. The Muslims wasn't even thought about it. So at one time, I kept going to the office saying, we got to have our Jewish Friday. Everybody was scared to go to the powers of day, so the Christian League. And who's in charge of the attacks? And it was, that's what I could go, Pellegrino. I'm Muslim. I have to have my Fridays off. My scratch is here. He said, look, Muhammad, if I give you permission, every black person in the Navy Yard will come to get that same excuse to have our Friday. He said, but I tell you what, you go to your email, or go to your Mosque Islamic Center at the time, and give me a letterhead. Once you get that, you can take all any Friday you want. Alhamdulillah, it happened. My sheikh is dead now, gave us the letterhead. But he was right. After that, everybody back was going into his office saying they was Muslim.
Subhanallah. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Inshallah, the history of Islam in Philadelphia as a whole needs to be discussed, and proper light needs to be shed upon it. Not a lecture or talk here and there, but like some real stuff. Inshallah, classes, khutbahs, documentaries, podcasts. There's plenty of old heads that are around. The young brothers should soak it up, document it while they're around, inshallah. Midnight time. Fadl.
I got a question concerning the gender reveal
Gender reveal parties. Type. Inshallah, perhaps this will be the last question we'll take tonight. Maybe we'll take one more line after this. A gender revealing party. Similar to a baby shower. Okay, type. Khayr, inshallah. This is what I think is most correct and Allah knows best. If you make some type of Eid, some type of set, fixed celebration, obviously that's going to be problematic. As far as your wife is about to give birth, Sister Karima, Sister Ahmed, Sister Abdullah, Sister such and such, they get together, they bring her some gifts, some tea, some coffee, some donuts, some cake, some food. They sit around together, perhaps maybe play the duff or whatever. They make dua, they give their, make their blessings, inshallah, for the baby, etc. I don't see anything wrong with that. Whether you call it a shower, whether you call it a get-together, a shingding, whether you call it a gender reveal party, whatever name or title is given, the concept of coming together, having a meeting, having a small party for a sister about to have a baby, that's not necessarily ibadah. And the same applies to Hajj. My family is throwing me a dinner because I'm going overseas to Hajj. You're about to travel. You may not come back. You're about to fulfill one of the pillars of Islam. You are lucky. How many Muslims you know haven't made Hajj? Too old, can't leave the country, don't have the money, too sick. You're about to go. We're happy. We want to show our gratitude to Allah. And we want to show that we're behind you. Can't say that's a bid'ah. It's not a specific act of ibadah. And if you say that it is a bid'ah, then it's also haram to meet and congregate and have tea and donuts or cake for anything else then. Because there's a specific reason why we're getting together. Because I'm off today, or because I'm coming this, because I'm coming there. It can be anything. So there are rules to what is and what isn't permissible and impermissible. And there lies no doubt many people that go extreme with regards to the concept of an innovation. And that's because they lack the proper knowledge and the proper fiqh. All right? So therefore, I don't see anything wrong with having a get-together between the sisters. There's nothing haram taking place. There's no dislike stuff taking place. They're getting together. They have food. They have drink. They congratulate her on the baby. They give her some gifts. There's nothing wrong with that. Names and titles are not the most important thing, unless those names and titles are mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. And if those names and titles are not mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, then it goes back to the content. So what is the content? All right? Doing a specific reason, I want to reveal the gender, so on and so forth? Maybe. What I would do, invite the sisters over your house because I'm about to have a baby. If you want to bring a gift, the sunnah is to give gifts. The sunnah is to accept gifts. The sunnah is to feed Muslims. The sunnah is to build a bond and a relationship with your sister. That's all from Islam. Allah surely knows best. Further. Clear. Crystal clear. Question regarding something that was mentioned in the khutbah about one of the principles of Imam Malik. And that principle was a principle that pertained to evidence. I.e., what is evidence? What's the dalil? People, they say there's no dalil. He has no dalil. Dalil is much more than just a hadith. There are other things that imams used as a dalil, as a proof, as evidence, right? Like a courtroom. A courtroom. It could be a witness. It could be forensic evidence, right? There are all different things that are used as what? Evidence. And the different levels, obviously, of what? Of evidence. There's levels. All evidence isn't on the same level, right? So Imam Malik having this principle of Amalu Ahl Medina, what the people of Medina did and what they understood, what he saw them doing. And this being one of his principles of his school of thought, his rationale. I.e., what separates Malik from Abu Hanifa, or Imam Shafi, or Imam Ahmed, and the other imams who had followers and disciples, and they were independent. They looked and they took the evidence and the proofs and came up with a view, okay, and a stance, a madhab, a school of thought. So Imam Malik, rahimahullah, using what the people of Medina did, could you expand upon that? It's very simple. And that is, Imam Malik, he sat down and he said to himself, We have the Quran, we have the Hadiths, and we have people. Who would know the Quran better? Who would understand it better? Who would know the inherited practice? Because all practice, all teaching isn't necessarily verbal. Everything that someone teaches you doesn't have to be verbal. You can see me doing it. And I got it from my sheikh overseas, who got it from his sheikh, who got it from Ibn Baz, who got it from such and such, who got it from such. It was passed down. Apprentice. Master to apprentice. It was never verbal, but it was passed down physically. Who would understand that better? Who could do that better? What place on earth could be purer in orthodoxy than Medina? That's how Imam Malik looked at it. So he said, for any fiqh ruling or fiqh issue, I'm not just going to necessarily take the verse or take the hadith, and that's it. But I'm going to see how the people of Medina understood it, and what they did, and how they gave zakah, and where they made ihram from. Where did they make umrah from? Are we understand this? How did they stone someone or flog someone? What they considered to be nabidh or khamr. Are we understand this? What they consider to be fermented. You understand this? What do they consider to be a sa and a mud? Everyone understand this? The prophetic measurements. So Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that what the people of Medina did is extremely important in understanding and interpreting the Quran and the Sunnah. An example of this, certain additional days of fasting. Certain additional days of fasting, Imam Malik would not fast. He wouldn't fast. He wouldn't do, even though there were hadiths to support it, such as the 6 days of Shawwal. And the reason why he didn't fast the 6 days of Shawwal, he says, I never saw a scholar of Medina making those days. Never. In other words, that's weird, that's strange, and that's peculiar. How is it possible for a sunnah to be authentic in its text, in its understanding, and the scholars and the ulama of Medina never ever do it? You understand this? So a person who comes to Philadelphia, and he wants to learn the culture of people of Philadelphia. He's in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest, Northeast, Germantown, Down Bottom, Center City, this section, that section. He's all over Philly. And he never ever encounters any person in Philadelphia eating a cheesesteak like this. Blacks, whites, Italians, Irish, Puerto Ricans, nobody. I never saw anybody come and put cinnamon on a cheesesteak. So he leaves with the conclusion that it is not from the sunnah to put cinnamon on your cheesesteak, period. Even though a person has a recipe and said he would do what? Put cinnamon on cheesesteak. How could the whole entire city forget about it and neglect it? Either that text, that recipe is inauthentic, or is not to be acted upon. That was Imam Malik's rationale. So he looked at the people of Medina, what they did, and that's because they had inherited it from the Sahaba, who inherited it from the Prophet. That was his rationale. Is that correct? Is that incorrect? Are there levels to that? That's a detailed discussion. Everyone understand this? That's a detailed discussion, and it's one of the reasons why the Imams differ. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, I'm taking the hadith. The hadith says, he who fasts on Ramadan and then follows it up with 6 days. And Imam Malik hypothetically says, I won't fast these 6 days of Shawwal. Why? Because I don't love the hadith, I don't respect the sunnah, but I never saw what? I never saw them do it. So therefore something has to be wrong. And I'm missing something. And I'd rather take what they did versus a single report or any other proof or evidence over which there is a discrepancy or an issue. Everyone understands? That's in brief. And the simplest, easiest way that I see I can explain it to you is the concept of the culture of the cheesesteak. I see people put hot peppers, sweet peppers, ketchup, mustard, mushrooms, chicken cheesesteak, lamb cheesesteak, so many different variations, but I never ever saw anyone put cinnamon on it. So therefore I conclude that that's what? It's bid'ah. And the law shouldn't know. It's clear, inshallah. That's in brief. That's in brief. You're going to have to pick up some books on this. Okay? If you wanted a good source, I would give you the evolution of fiqh. Dr. Bilal Phillips. The evolution of fiqh. He talks about all of the schools, the madhabs, how they developed and how they evolved. I would advise you to read that book tonight. Inshallah, you'll find your answer and much, much more therein. The evolution of fiqh. That's an old classic. Huh, Mr. Hajid? That was what? Back in the day. Before, that was what? That was way back when. Baruch, right? That's the old days. Things change, obviously. Allah knows best. That's our last question tonight. Jazakumullahu khairan.